Hello, students. Welcome back to Tuition Masters. And today we are here with another session for your history, that is Socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution. I had already made two videos on this chapter, and this is a one-shot revision session for the whole chapter. All right. Before this was our French Revolution, correct? I've made full videos on them. Also, our timeline also, which has been the one of the best videos of this channel, isn't it? Attach all the links in the I section. All right. So today we're going to cover the whole revision. This is a revision session, one shot for the chapter Socialism in Europe and Russian Revolution. Okay. So we'll quickly cover up all the topics. Okay, all the topics of this chapter one by one, and I've even uploaded a timeline of the whole chapter. So I'll attach all the links in the I section above, and you can even find it in my channel. So make sure to like this video, share with your friends, and subscribe to channel if you are new and are not subscribed yet. So let's start. So when you talk about socialism, what happened? We all know that during the after the French Revolution, people were much of interested in getting socialized. After French Revolution, whatever happened, people thought that even we want to do such things, isn't it? So in the socialism, they wanted that there was an age of social change. Correct? There was an age of social change, and people had different view on it. Correct. There people had different views on it. Correct. So there were three groups of people known as liberals, radicals, and conservatives. Okay. So what they were, they all of these three had they had three different groups. They had different views of their own. So what were liberals? Liberals, as the word says, they were like free. They wanted free and free rules and everything, right? Like that. So when I talk about liberals, they wanted a secular country where all the religions are treated equally. So they wanted a secular country. Okay. Now they were against the uncontrolled power of the dynastic rulers. So dynastic rulers means nothing but the monarchy, isn't it? They were against the monarch, that only every all the powers is in the hands of the king only. That is very wrong. We want an elected parliamentary government. We want an elected parliamentary government. We do not want a monarchy. We want a government to rule us. Okay. And subject to laws interpreted by well-trained judiciary that was independent of the rulers and officials. So they wanted that in the parliament there should be a proper trained judiciary and independent. They should be independent, not be dependent on the officials or rulers or kings. So that was the idea of liberals. Liberals, they were not Democrats because did not believe in the universal adult franchise. What is universal adult franchise? Everyone, whether it be man or woman, they were allowed to vote above the age of 18. But liberals, they were against it. They said that only the people who are rich enough and only men's, only they should go and do the voting. So that was one bad thing about the liberals. Okay. They were a little bit hypocrite, you can say. Okay. Next comes the radicals. Now radicals, they wanted a nation in which government was based on the majority. Correct. So what they wanted was that in our country, what should happen is people are choosing the majority. Okay, they are choosing a representative which will be based on the majority. Whoever gets more of support, they will rule the country. Okay. Now the ideas of existence of private property and concentration of property in hands of few was declined by them. They said that we do not want such a rule that property, then factories are everyone, only some people do it on their own, and we do not want that every concentration of property only be in few hands or individual people. No, it should be public. Okay, it should be public. It shouldn't be like only one or two people are having properties and private properties. They were against that. Okay. And one more thing was that they even helped in the women's suffragette movements where the women demanded for votes. So radicals were the supporters. Next comes the conservatives. Conservative means that they were, a little bit old minded, you can say, where they agreed that, okay, it's fine. It's fine that there is changes, but we wanted to come slowly. So basically, firstly, they denied that no, Past should be past, it should be conserved and preserved. We do not want any changes. But after the French Revolution, they thought that okay, changes are necessary, but changes should come slowly. Changes should be slowly, they should come, and it should respect the past also. So these were the three groups of liberals, radicals, conservatives, and they all had their different views. Okay. Now, industrial society and social changes. Now, during the period of socio-economic changes, men, women, and even children, they were pushed into factories on a lower wages. Now, what happened was industrialism. In the industrial revolution was occurring, where railway construction and all this works are in much of what can we say, majority, you can say, right? So for doing that, there was needed a large number of labor, manpower was required. So what happened was, there were men, which was normal. But women and even children, all of them used to come and work into the factories with good facilities. No, with very poor facilities, with very less wages and more working hours. Working hours were very high, and the factory, the salary, the wages given to them was very low. So men, women, and children, they were literally suffering over there. Correct. And liberals and radicals, who were the factory owners and employers, they felt that workers must efforts must be encouraged. So basically, these liberals and radicals saw that no, the factory owners are doing very wrong, but they have their own factory, so they are thinking that we do anything with the the workers. Who cares? No, nobody will care about it. We will do whatever we want, but we are only care about our profits. That was the mindset of the factory owners. But liberals and radicals thought that no, this is happening very wrong. The workers efforts must be encouraged, and they should be given proper support and privileges also. Now, how did socialism emerge in Europe? How does it came into the picture? So when I talk about socialist, they were socialist people like Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. They were against the idea of private property. They said that private property should not be there. No one should own the property. This is my property, my factory. Anyone, I don't care about anything, I only care about my profits. That social, that shouldn't be there. So when private properties and all these things are not there, that place is known as socialist. That is a socialism. That is what the meaning of socialism is, isn't it? So some demanded that government must encourage cooperatives. Cooperatives means that where some people, they're working, okay, they're working together, and whatever profits they're getting, they will divide it into among themselves. Okay, so if there are five people working on a project, if they get say $100 they're earning, so as a profit, so that 100 will be divided into 20 equally. And if sometimes some are doing more work, less work, so based on that also they will do it, but everyone will get divided with the money. That is what cooperative is. Now, along with that, two famous socialists, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, they added that industrial society was capitalist. Industrial society means this society, as we studied before, right, in the factories, they were capitalist. Capitalist means who gave the money, and they were the owners, and they only worried about their capital. They only worried about the profits. We want profits. Okay, children, men, women are working, we don't care. They are suffering over there, having problem, no problem, we don't care about it. We only care that our we are getting the proper profits. That's it. That was, so that's why Marx and Angels, they added that they are capitalist. Now, Karl Marx believed that a socialist society would free workers from capitalism, right? So, if there is a socialist society where there is no private property and private factory owners, so what will happen? Workers will get more privileges, rights, good wages, and less working hours also. So they would be free from the the struggles of capitalism. So do not have to face the capitalism if society is socialist. And then if it is not socialist, if it is socialist and it has no capitalism, so that would become a communist society. So that was what the major thinking of Karl Marx was. Okay. Now, support for socialism. Was socialism supported in Europe? So, to fight for better living conditions, workers in two countries, Germany and England, they began forming associations. Okay. They set up funds for members in distress, reduction of working hours, and right to vote. Okay. So, what happened was, Germany and England, they started to make associations. They started to make, small social groups. Whoever are suffering from, any distress, or work hours are very high, they want to reduce it, and right to vote, good wages are given for all this problem. They were setting up funds. Okay, they were setting up funds, so whoever the needy is, they can come and take a little bit amount of money. So such socialist formed an organization known as the Second International. Okay, there was a organization formed, Second International, which set up such funds. You can say as a charity kind of work, where they help the people who were needy and in trouble due to such adverse effects of the industrial society. Okay, now, talking about Russian Empire in the 1900s, especially in general 1914. So in 1914, Tsar Nicholas II, what is Tsar here? Tsar is the name? No, Tsar meaning is king. Okay, Tsar Nicholas II, he ruled the Russian Empire. So during 1914, who was the ruler of the empire, Russian Empire? It was Tsar Nicholas II. Okay, he was the one who was ruling the Russian Empire. Now the majority religion was the Russian Orthodox Christianity. Okay, so during that time, the Russian Empire, the majority of the religion was of Russian Orthodox Christianity. That was the majority present in there. Okay. Now, what was the economical condition of the society? Now, many Russian population were agriculturists. Like in France, we know many people did agriculture, and also similarly in Russia, also many people were doing agriculture. Industries were being set up, which were mostly private property. Karl Marx said that we do not want, but still there were many, almost all the factories which were there, they were private property. Okay, now workers, they were divided into groups. They did unite to strike work when they were dissatisfied. Now workers, they were divided, based on their clothing, based on how much they work, what is the background and all. Their workers were divided. But when all of them were in trouble, so they even united together. Okay, now these peasants had no respect for nobility. Nobility, as in the landowners and all, unlike the French peasants. So we know that the French peasants in the French Revolution, they were very kind. They would listen to the nobility, they will suffer the adverse and the worth of them, right? But Russian peasants were not like that. Okay, you're fighting with us, you're not giving it, we will kill you. So they directly, without even understanding the consequences, they directly killed them. Okay, Russian peasants were the only peasant community which pooled their land, and the commune divided the land according to the needs of the individual family. So what happened was, they had no respect. No way. Okay, you're the land giver, we don't care about you. You do whatever, we are not going to listen to you, we will do what we want to do. Okay, and they used to directly, if the nobility would oppose them, they used to directly kill them with no fear. Okay, now these Russian peasants, they had a commune. Okay, they had a commune. They used to gather their lands, they used to gather all their lands, and the commune, it was known as the mir. Okay, they would divide the land based on the needs of individual family. Okay, your family is big, okay, so you can take the larger amount of land. Your family has only 3 people, so you take a small amount of land. So based on that, the entire land was divided by the commune. Okay, now understanding about how did socialism emerge in Russia. Now, there was a party formed in 1898 known as the Russian Socialist Democratic Labor Party. So, this was a party which helped the laborers and the peasants to overcome the problems they were facing in 1898. Now, socialist revolutionary parties, okay, they were even formed in 1900s, and it struggled to give peasants their rights over land that belonged to the nobles. Now, Nobles, again, that was the same condition. Nobles were the one at the tops, and they were the landowners. So these parties, Socialist Revolutionary, then Russian Social Democratic Party, they all fought for the one mutual aim, that we have to give the proper rights which belongs to the peasants. Okay, but unfortunately this party was divided into two groups, the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks. Okay, Bolsheviks was led by Vladimir Lenin. Okay, and Mensheviks were nothing but they were the opposites. Means, they were the people who did not support Bolsheviks were in the group of Mensheviks. So now Vladimir Lenin, who led the Bolshevik group, thought that in a repressive society like the Tsarist Russia, the party should be disciplined and should control the number and quality of its members. So it was what Bolsheviks, they did not allow everyone to join their groups. No, they thought that the members who they're having, they should know the control, how, what are their mindset and all, the quality of them. Okay, they were like, this is a Tsarist country. Tsarist as in everything is based on the king. Everyone say, oh, hail the king. King is the best that way. But we want that in our group only best quality members should be there. That was what the thinking of Vladimir Lenin was. Okay, in the Bolsheviks. But talk about Menshevik, that was not the condition. Mensheviks allowed everyone to join. Okay, the party should be open to all. So Mensheviks thought that this party, it's not only to specific people who are not czarists, rather it should be to everyone. Okay. So that was what the thinking of Mensheviks were. Okay. Now Bolshevik, Menshevik, going to learn about them more in our ahead parts. Next comes the 1905 revolution, where comes the event of Bloody Sunday. Now, what happened was, liberals, they were working towards demanding a constitution during the revolution of 1905. So, when the revolution of 1905 was going on, liberals said that the liberals from the start only they were against the dynastic rule. So they said that no, 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 we do not want a dynastic rule. We want a proper constitution. We want a proper parliament. Okay, now, what happened during this time was, four members of the Putilov Iron Works, they were dismissed. Okay, four members from the iron work company, they were removed from the job, and over 110,000 workers in St. Petersburg went on strike, demanding less working hours and more wages. So, in the initial way, what happened during the industrial society, people were getting less wages, correct, and more working hours. So either thousands workers went on strike, where in St. Petersburg, which was renamed to as Petrograd, correct, and they demanded that the working hours should be less, salary should be more. With this came the Bloody Sunday. So this procession was attacked by police and Cossacks and is known as the Bloody Sunday. Why Bloody Sunday? It took place on Sunday, and bloody as in there was a lot of bloodshed over there. Police and the workers and peasants who were, they were fighting with each other, correct, they were fighting, and they were fighting, killing each other, and there were a lot of bloodshed, and hence it is known as the Bloody Sunday. Okay, it started a series of events that came to be known as the 1905 revolution. So a 1905 revolution is related to the Bloody Sunday, wherein the people were coming on revolution and they started killing people and all. At the end, Tsar Nicholas, he allowed the creation of an elected consultative parliament, or the Duma. So what is Duma? Duma is nothing but an elected consultative parliament, meaning people will elect the parliament, but the Tsar Nicholas, he had suspended the first Duma. He had dissolved the first Duma. Why? Because he was feeling bad that I am the king. I should control the power. Why are these the people of the parliament controlling me, controlling my power? So he did not like the Duma and he had removed it. Okay. Now, what was the effect of the First World War on the Russian Empire? So now in 1904, the Russian army was the largest army in the world. In 1914 started the First World War also. So Russian army was the very largest army in the whole world. The war was initially very popular, but later support grew thin. So, starting of the World War, it was very popular, but later on the support kept going down. Now, anti-German sentiments ran high. The people who were not in German but who were Germans, but they were becoming the sentiments, the feeling of them quite high. Russian armies lost badly in Germany and Austria. So Russian armies, when they were fighting in Germany and Austria, they were lost very badly. How? There were 7 million casualties and 3 million refugees in Russia. So 7 million casualties were also there during the wartime, and 3 million refugees were coming from Germany, Austria. They settled in Russia. So that was a very big effect which came on to Russia. Right. The war also affected the industry. The shortage of labor, railway lines were shut down, small workshops were also closed. Right. Now, the labor and all, they were said, no, we have to go in the warfare. Now come with us, we will participate and become a soldier. Now they went there. Now if they went there, who will do the labor, who will do the work? Correct. So that's why labor shortage was there. Railway lines, no one was there to handle, so they were also shut down. Small workshops, the people who were handling them were also gone as soldiers, so they were also closed. Then there was a famine, shortage of grains, agricultural production slumped, and thus there were crises in food supply. Food supply was also gone down. Correct. Crisis of food came, that now no one is there for agriculture and all. Production is not happening, so food crisis also came. Now, before going to the next topics of the chapter, let's solve a few questions. Okay, let us solve few questions. Write a note on liberals. So who was liberals? As I said you, they were opposing, they opposed the dynastic rule. Correct. They opposed the dynastic rule of the king, isn't it? Then they were not democrats. Correct. They were not democrats. They did not believe in universal adult franchise. They wanted a secular country. Correct. They wanted a secular country where all the religions are tolerated, isn't it? So let me show you the answer. So they opposed the uncontrolled power of dynastic rulers. They wanted to safeguard rights of individual against the government, and they did not believe in universal adult franchise, or they only believed that only men should get the right to vote. Okay. After that, why was socialist against private property and saw it as a root of socialism? Private property, all the wealth, they were like capitalist. Okay, they were capitalist. So all the power and all the things lie only in one hand, and there were problem. What happened? Wages were less, working hours working hours were more. So that is why Karl Marx and such more socialists were against it. So the socialists were against private properties because they believe that private property only is the main problem of all the social problems. Individual owned property did provide employment, but at the same time they were not concerned of the people's welfare, but they only wanted their own profits. Okay, socialists also felt that if society controlled property, more attention would be paid to collective social interest, and concentration of wealth in a few hands of the people will not be there. Only few people are coming, rest people are dying, no one cares about it, that shouldn't be there. So socialists felt that everyone, the property should be in divided, it not should be in one hand only. Next question is, describe the socio-economic condition of Russia before 1905. So, when talking about before 1905, the thing was good. I mean, Russia was having a good condition. About 85% Russians population, they were earning from agriculture. Now, the proportion were even, it was the highest in the among the European countries. There were industries found in pockets, means industries were very easily found in everywhere. In St. Petersburg and Moscow were the very most prominent and more and more famous industries, you can say. They were the industrial areas. Now, industry was the private property of industrialists, isn't it? And the government supervised large factories to ensure there is minimum wages. When proper wages are given, and the working hours are also accordingly kept. Now, in small workshop and craft units where such handicrafts and all were done, they said that you can keep it as 15 hours. But in factories, there should be only 10 to 12 hours only. Okay, and accommodation varied from rooms to dormitories. Okay, dorms and rooms were given as per the family and all. Now, workers, they were also divided into social groups. They had strong links with the villages from which they came, and others had settled in the cities also. So, based on the skill, the background, and all, workers were divided. Now, moving towards the next part of the chapter, the February and the October Revolution. So, February Revolution in Petrograd. Petrograd was the next, the continued name of St. Petersburg. It was renamed as Petrograd. So, in the winters of 1917, conditions in Petrograd were very severe. There were harsh effects of winter coming. Now, on 22nd February, a lockout, curfew took place, and the workers from 50 factories joined the strike. There was a strike. Okay, and more than approximately like 50 factories, people from 50 factories, they had joined. Now, women were also participating in that strike, and that's why 22nd February came to be known as the International Women's Day. So, if they ask you in your exam, why was 22nd February known as International Women's Day? Because on that day, when the lockout had took place, a curfew, the factory people had come along with women's. They also had fought. So, that's why it's known as the Women's Day. Now, as the fashionable quarters and official buildings were surrounded by workers, the government imposed a curfew. They said, no, no, everyone, workers are surrounding the buildings and the governmental offices also. They said, no, quickly impose a curfew so that everyone goes back. So everyone went back also. But what happened? The government called the cavalry and police to keep an eye on demonstrators on 24th and 25th. So 24th, 25th, they again came back. The people came back again. And now the people population grew. So Tsar Nicholas said that quickly, everyone, cavalry, police, all of you go, and if any casualties are there, kill all of them. He said that. But what happened was on Sunday, 25th February, the government had suspended the Duma. The Duma was created, right? So it was suspended. And on 27th Feb, the police headquarters were ransacked, and due to this incident, cavalry was called out again. But the cavalry said that no, these are our people, we are not going to fight with them. Okay. What happened was next was officers. An officer was shot at the barracks of a regiment, and three other regiments mutinied, and voting to join the striking workers gathered to form a Soviet or council. Okay, so what happened was a officer was shot, so the people became quite furious, and they thought that they were from three other regiments. They came together, decided an upspringing. Okay, and they said that we have to make a Soviet, and that Soviet was known as what? The Petrograd Soviet, which was formed by three regiments who came together. Okay, after an officer was shot in the February Revolution. Now the Tsar was abdicated on 2nd March. He was removed from his position, and the Soviet, the Petrograd Soviet, and the Duma leaders, they became the provisional government and started to run the country. Okay, so what happened was, how did a provisional government came? When the Tsar was abdicated, when he was removed from his position on 2nd March, the Soviet and the Duma leaders, they came together, joined their hands, and started to run the government as the provisional government. Now, what was the aftermath? What was the aftermath of February Revolution? All this restriction which was kept by Tsar Nicholas, that public meetings shouldn't be there, associations, public groups you cannot make, all of such kind of useless restrictions were removed. Now, public Soviets like the Petrograd Soviet, they were set up everywhere. People could see social groups every corner of the place. Correct. There were committees formed in individual factories which began questioning the way industrial ran their factory. Even they felt the power. They even thought that no, we also have power. We will also say something, right? So they said that the whatever you're doing is wrong. We want proper wages, we want less working hours. They even questioned the industrialists. Now the soldiers committees, they formed an proper army. There was increase in the popularity of Bolsheviks. Now Bolsheviks led by the Vladimir Lenin, it got more and more popularity and majority gain, and it even the provisional government saw its power reduce. Okay, and it decided to take stern measures against the spreading discontent. So what happened was it resisted attempts by the workers to run factories and arrested the leaders. So the attempts which were made by the workers, they were going unsuccessful. So they provisional government, they arrested the leader and said that no, you're not going to work anymore. So the peasants and the socialist leaders repressed for the distribution of land. So they said that the land should be redistributed among every one of us. Okay. Now the land committees were formed again, and there were socialist peasants also which seized the land. They took over the land back between July and September 1917. But after the February Revolution, the war wasn't over. After that came the Revolution of October. October Revolution, also it's known as. Now, in 16th October 1917, Vladimir Lenin, he came back from, Vladimir Lenin, he had persuaded the Petrograd Soviet and Bolshevik party to agree to a socialist seizure of power. What they did was, when Vladimir Lenin came back from his exile, he said that Petrograd Soviet and Bolshevik party, we will join our hands together and seize the power. Now, to organize this seizure or taking back the power, military revolutionary committee, okay, they was there, it was appointed under Leon Trotsky. Okay, so Leon Trotsky, he was the leader of military revolutionary committee, and he was appointed. Now, on 24th October, there was an uprising by the Bolsheviks. Now, Prime Minister during that time, it was Kerensky. He left the city to summon the troops. He said that, okay, I'm leaving right now. I'll bring my troops and cavalry. What happened later was, two buildings of Bolshevik newspaper were seized by the loyal military men. Okay, so what happened was, they said that the Kerensky, who were basically the men, the army who were very loyal to the government, they said that the government said that go and seize the buildings of Bolshevik. So they went and did that also. Now there were troops and other people sent to take over telephone and telegraph offices also and protect the Winter Palace. Now the Bolsheviks and the revolutionaries were coming towards the Winter Palace. So what happened was, they said that quickly go, leave all those things and go and protect the Winter Palace, because if they destroy it, that will be a problem. So the ship Aurora, it was shelled, like protected the Winter Palace. Now after that, Bolsheviks were approved by all Russian Congress of Soviets in Petrograd. So they had done such a good work. So the Russian Congress of Soviets in Petrograd, they approved that, okay, Bolsheviks are good. Now there was a heavy fighting. There was a quite a warfare in Moscow, and by December the Bolsheviks even controlled the Moscow in the Petrograd area. Okay, now again coming towards the aftermath. What was the aftermath of October Revolution? There was the April thesis given. In November 1917, most of the industry and banks were nationalized. Nationalized as in, it will be controlled by the government. That was under one part of the April thesis given by Vladimir Lenin. Land was, declared as social property, and peasants were allowed to seize the land of the nobility. So the peasants were said that no, you do not have to suffer. Go and take the land of nobility. No one will stop you. It is a social property from now on. You can snatch it away from the nobility also. Now, the old titles, sir, ma'am, and everything given to the aristocracy and all, they were said that no, you are not getting any titles and stuff. It is banned from now. There were new uniforms also. There was a red hat also designed. New uniforms were made for the armies. Then, Russia initially became a one party system when only one party is ruling it. Correct. Now there were trade unions also which were kept under party controls. So trade unions, whatever trading was happening, all the calculations and control was kept. Now a process of centralized planning was introduced, where planning and all we have to do properly, nicely think about it and do it, which led to economical growth. Now there was an increase in industrial production also. Okay, industries grew more, they flourished, and more produce was coming. There were new schooling systems also, and collectivization of farms began. But after the October Revolution was the Civil War. Wars never ended. First was the February, then the October Revolution, then came the Civil War. Okay, which was expected to be the last war of this fight of socialism, isn't it? So what happened was, when the Bolsheviks ordered land redistribution, that collectivization should be done and land will be redistributed. Bolsheviks ordered that. The Russian army, they began to break up. Break up as in they said that no, 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 this is wrong, we won't support you. They started to break. And now, non Bolshevik socialist liberals and supporters of autocracy condemned the Bolshevik uprising. So, what happened? The people who did not believe, the Mensheviks, liberals, and autocracy supporters, they said that no, you are doing wrong. Bolshevik uprising, they said that no, 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 this is absolutely wrong. So what happened? These opposites who were not a part of Bolsheviks, they made up different groups: greens, whites, and reds. Greens were the which fought against the Bolsheviks. Bolsheviks were the red. Greens were the socialist revolutionaries. Okay, and whites were the pro-czarists who were in the favor of the Tsar and controlled the Russian Empire. Okay, they were fighting, and they were even supported by French. So I mean France, American, British, and Japanese troops also. From there also they were getting supports. So who were greens? Greens were the socialist revolutionaries, then reds were the Bolsheviks, whites were the Prozarists. And all this fought a war with the Bolsheviks. So all of them were fighting with the Bolsheviks. Okay. Moving towards the last part of the chapter, that is making a socialist society. So the Bolsheviks kept all the industries and banks nationalized also during the Civil War. They did not remove the April thesis. They said, okay, whatever it is, we will keep the banks national. We have to keep it going on, and the process of centralized planning was even introduced now. There was rapid construction and industrialization started. People started to quickly make up industries. Working was done, production was done very good, and it extended the schooling system also. After that, when Vladimir Lenin died, Joseph Stalin was the one who took over his place. Okay, and he introduced the system of Stalinism and collectivization. So Joseph Stalin, after Bolsheviks, I mean not Bolsheviks, Vladimir Lenin, right, he took over the place, and he believed that rich peasants and traders, they took the land. Okay, they took the land, not land, sorry, the grains. They were storing the grains. So what they said, that we have to do collectivization. We will attack those rich farmers and take away all the grains and distribute it. So this system will even help to modernize farms. And those farmers who resisted collectivization, they were punished, deported, or exiled. So the farmers said, no, we do not want collectivization, we are opposing it. They were directly thrown out of the country. Okay, that was collectivization and Stalinism. Okay, after that was the formation of USSR. Okay, so what was the global influence of this Russian Revolution? How French Revolution became very famous? Was Russian Revolution also that famous? And how was USSR formed? So, by the 1950s, it was recognized in the country and outside that everything was not in keeping with the ideals of Russian revolutions. So, everything what was thought, the ideologies in the Russian Revolution, that was not exactly in match. So, those industries, agriculture were flourishing and the poor were being fed, the initial freedom to the citizens were not given. The proper freedom was not there. All the industries were flourishing, agriculture was there, but still there were problems. It was not perfect. Right, and however, it was recognized that social ideals still enjoyed respect among Russians. But in each country, the ideas of socialism were rethought in different ways. And with that, the USSR was formed. Okay, So with that, we have completed with the chapter. Let's solve few quick questions and then we will end with the session. So describe the main events which led to the February Revolution. What were the main problems of February Revolution? So on 22nd February, there was a curfew which took place on the right hand side of the bank of River Neva. Okay. On 23rd, the 50 factories, the workers from there called a strike. Okay, and many women also joined it, correct? So demonstrating workers crossed the factory quarters to the center of the capital, that was the Nevsky Prospect. To there they crossed and they went to the factory quarters and all attacked it. Now the government, they said that impose a curfew immediately so that the demonstrators go back. So they went also, but again they came back. So what happened was, Tsar Nicholas on Sunday 25th February, he said that Duma is gone. Duma is suspended. He started to call his cavalry, and Soviet leaders and Duma leaders, they formed a provisional government and they started to run the country. All right. Next question is, what were the main points of the April thesis? After he came back, after Vladimir Lenin, okay, so basically, this April thesis was given by Vladimir Lenin only. So when he came back from his exile during the October Revolution, he gave his April thesis. What was it? In 1917, April, he gave the thesis, April thesis, when she came back from the exile. And what they said was, Bolsheviks had opposed the war since 1914. Now they felt the war be brought to a close. They said that this warfare, whatever going on, we do not want it. First point of April thesis. Second, peasants, they should be given their land, and nobles to be given, means land should be given to them, and nobles should not have the land anymore. It should become social, right? And peasants become violent to get their demand. So that was the second point. This was first of the war to be withdrawn. Second was lands to be given back. Third was that they demanded banks to be nationalized. Nationalized means banks will be controlled by the government. Okay. Next question is, main events of the October Revolution. What happened in October? There was a conflict, as in problem between provisional government and Bolsheviks. So Lenin, he was fearing, he was afraid that the provisional government would make a dictatorship and his plan of socialism would fall. So in September, he began discussions for an uprising, means revolution. So in October, 16th October, he persuaded the Petrograd Soviet and Bolshevik party to agree a seizure of power, means will take the power. Military Revolutionary Committee, it was appointed by the Soviet under the leadership of Leon Trotsky to make up the seizure. Now the uprising, it began on 24th October, which was sensing trouble, and Prime Minister Kerensky had left the city to bring his troops and army. So with that, the Military Revolutionary Committee orders its supporters to seize the government offices, arrest the ministers, and by the nightfall, the city was under the committee's control. So they had handled everything properly. So at the meeting of all Russian Congress, okay, the of Soviets in Petrograd, the majority approved the Bolshevik action. They said that no, Bolsheviks did it right. So that way the Petrograd Soviets were happy with them. Okay. Last question was, write a note on collectivization program initiated by Stalin, Joseph Stalin. So from 1929, the party forced all peasants to cultivate in collective farms. That was kolkhoz. Kolkhoz was nothing but in collective farm. One farm will be given to you and all of you have to work on them. All of you have to work on them. So the bulk of land and implements were transferred to the ownership of farms now, and peasants, they worked on the land, and the kolkhoz profit was shared. Whatever profit they got from the collective farms known as kolkhoz, they would divide it among themselves. Okay. Now, that made the peasants angry and they resisted the authorities and destroyed their livestock also. They killed the cattle and all, they destroyed the lands. Between 1929 and 1931, the number of cattle fell by one third. Okay, one third cattle were killed by them. Like, mean not one third, it fell by that. So those resisted collectivization, Stalin punished and no, get out of the country. I mean, they were deported and sent to exile. But in spite of collectivization, production did not increase. Okay, it did not help, and still there was a famine and there was a in the history, 4 million people had died due to that famine. Okay, so with this, we have completed with our today's session. Thank you so much, students, for watching it. I hope it was super amazing, and we have completed approximately in 40 minutes. We have completed the whole chapter. Make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you didn't do it till now, and I'll be seeing you very soon in our upcoming videos. Till then, take care and goodbye.